Welcome to Insights into Insurance with Tom Sorensen of Americana Insurance Group. All information provided is educational in nature and not intended to be acted upon without first consulting the appropriately licensed professional.
It's Saturday morning here on KATE. Time for another Insights into Insurance with Tom Sorensen of Americana Insurance. And Tom, good morning to you.
Happy Saturday morning to you, Paul.
Now, Tom, this is a very timely topic and actually a very timely email from Marion, our listener. Are you all set for the question?
I am ready.
Hi, Tom. My husband and I listen to your show every week. We really like it, and we love Kate Radio. We're an elderly couple. I don't know if this has anything to do with insurance, but both my husband and I take medications, and we are wondering if we could get a citation if we get pulled over because of us taking those medications from Marion.
Marion. Well, this is kind of funny because I got this email before the whole Tiger Woods incident. Okay. And it just was bizarre that I got this email and my next special guest that we have, actually, I've heard him speak about this before. And if anybody doesn't know, Tiger Woods, golfer, got pulled over and he had 0% alcohol in it, but it was all, supposedly prescription drugs is what caused him to get his DWI or his driver impairment charge. So, Marion, what I have done is I went out and got an expert. Our special guest today is Mark Peterson, and Mark is a public affairs specialist with the AAA Auto Club group. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. I don't know. I think you use that term expert rather loosely, but we'll do our best.
Well, I also call myself an expert sometimes, so I do use it loosely. Hey, Mark, can you tell me, what do you do for AAA, and what is your background, and why are you my special guest today?
Well, I've worked for AAA what will be 3 years this October, and as a public affairs specialist, what I do is work with groups such as law enforcement, when we liaison with them on different programs, with businesses who want some education, with driver's ed groups who want presentations on everything revolving with traffic safety to travel safety to being able just to get around and understand what some of the dangers are. Basically, we educate. My background is I'm a 25-year trooper. I retired as a lieutenant. Most of my road time was spent in the metropolitan area, days and medals. About 5 years on a shift we lovingly refer to as dog watch. Straight nights, met a wide range of personalities, had a lot of fun. I have a background in making impaired driving arrests, both alcohol and drugs. When I was with the patrol, I was what's called a drug recognition expert evaluator, and in dealing with individuals who have chosen to drive impaired with drugs. So,
okay.
Without getting into everything after that, I do have a little bit of a background on this, and I take that information and share it with people who want to educate.
Well, it sounds like to me you're an expert, so there.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Say, the myth out there is AAA is just what do I want to say?
Pick you up when you get stuck.
Yeah, pick you up when you get stuck. When you have issues, you buy a membership, and they'll pay for your towing and that. So, obviously, AAA does a lot more than that, right?
Well, AAA does much more than that. Obviously, there's roadside assistance there, toe-to-go, when you have individuals who are impaired during different times of the year. They'll will come and pick you up. Travel, have a bank, life insurance, credit cards. I did not understand, quite frankly, how diversified AAA was until I was employed, and now I am just starting to understand.
But they also do a lot of, what do you want to call, research and statistical research on, example, what we're talking about today, impaired driving, distracted driving, anything to do with basically four wheels or maybe two wheels in a motor, huh?
There's a AAA foundation that is in place that does it, and just to your point, a great deal of research. And we do research with teens and some of the different issues surrounding them, obviously, distracted driving and using cell phones and talking. In fact, if we talk about teens, the vast majority of the time, their primary issues revolve around texting, but even more so, talking. Just conversation in and of itself.
Sure.
With seniors, we like to educate about technology, and actually seniors get kind of a bum rap. They're actually pretty good drivers.
Right.
They just have a tendency to get hurt a little bit more because they're just a little more frail than some of the younger ones.
My guess is, and I'm totally guessing, that maybe the senior accidents are probably a little bit less tragic, maybe, but because of their age, they get hurt easier. Is that right or not?
Yeah, that's correct. They are as we get older, and I'm in that group now, that if you're involved in a crash, it's just like if you fall down a flight of stairs or something, you have a tendency to get hurt a little bit more than you would have had you done that when you were 15 years old.
Right.
So they are a lot more fragile. And so we like to educate some of the seniors. If I mentioned this earlier, I'll say it again, to some of the technology that's out there, because a lot of times they stay away from that. And when I say technology, I'm talking about all the different things that are available in cars.
Yeah, it sometimes, like if you buy a new car, well, my truck is still, I've had it for a year and a half, and I'm still trying to find things that it does or doesn't do. So
you bet.
Yeah, so anyway. Well, maybe we should get back to Marion's question here. I got us all sidetracked here, but getting back to Marion's question, cut to the chase, what would be the answer? Can she get citations for taking medications?
Well, as usual, it's not entirely black and white. So can you get one? Yes. And can you still take medications and drive? Well, yes, you can. But so it's something that people need to understand when we talk about that. If we want to get into this a little bit more, and with prescription drugs and driving, some of the facts that we have out there. Half of Americans reported taking at least one medication or one prescription drug in the last 30 days. 32% of drivers consider driving under the influence of drugs something that's very, very serious. And what's interesting, in the last decade, the number of Americans taking at least one prescription drug has increased by 10%, and the use of multiple prescriptions has increased by 20%. One of these that's kind of scary when I look at it and talk about it even more is the use of 5 or more prescription drugs has increased by 70%.
Wow, that is an incredible statistic. And obviously our medical people are diagnosing more things because of technology, but it creates issues. Example, driving impaired or potentially driving impaired because of the prescription drugs. So it's definitely an issue out there. Is there a certain population that we're seeing with that? Is it the seniors? Is it the teens? Is it mid-age people?
Well, what we're talking about is, and again, I'll throw myself in this group, is the baby boomers are starting to retire.
Oh, sure.
And that's a large group of individuals who obviously are going to start using prescription drugs for a number of different health issues. Seniors will comprise 25% of all licensed drivers by 2025. And fragility accounts for about half of the senior fatalities per mile, and we touched on that. And 95% of seniors use meds that may impair driving. 2/3 of senior drivers are 65 or older, and this is interesting, take 5 or more daily medications that can affect their ability to drive. So what you always have to do is you have to understand what you're taking, and you have to talk to your doctor. What's interesting is as we get into this age of specialty, sometimes you may go to someone who deals with an orthopedic surgeon who talk about a replaced hip or a knee. And then you might deal with someone who's going to talk about your Lipitor that you're taking for your cholesterol.
Sure. And
then you might talk to someone who's taking a drug because of their anxiety. So you talk to all of these different people, and sometimes they don't talk. In fact, I'm sure there's a number of times they don't talk. And the mixing of some of these medications could be an issue. Most of the time, and I can't say all the time, but most of the time, medication taken in its therapeutic doses is okay.
Okay. It's normally when it gets abused, is that what you're saying?
That is possible. I mean, if someone were to tell me that they're taking, an example would be if they have a prescription for Xanax for over 2 weeks and they take it therapeutically and don't mix alcohol with it, there's the likelihood that it shouldn't cause a problem, although in some respects it's good. Then you have someone who says, boy, I just need a whole bunch of these, and they take their 2-week supply in about 48 hours. Well, they're going to be pretty impaired. Or if they choose to take some drugs, oxy or something of that nature, and mix alcohol, that also can create problems. So we have to stay educated. We have to understand.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested, and not to pile on the guy when he's down, but it'll be really interesting to find out what the situation is with Tiger Woods and seeing what, obviously there was no alcohol involved, to see where he was at with prescription drugs and was he abusing or was it just a regular dose and things like that. But, well, why don't we take a break and then we'll come back and finish up here. So we'll see you in just a little bit again, Mark.
You bet.
We'll be back with more insights into insurance with Americana Insurance's Tom Sorensen in 30 seconds.
You know when your line starts singing and you're positive you've hooked into a big one, but sometimes everything stops. Suddenly, it's a sad story about the one that got away. Crops can be like that too. You put in all the work, but there's always a chance nature might try and take it away. At Americana, we help farmers find the best crop insurance options to protect against loss from hail, excess moisture, drought, wind, and fire. So put Americana in your tackle box. Americana Insurance. We're the A-Team. AmericanaInsurance.com.
And we're back here on Insights into Insurance with Americana Insurance's Tom Sorensen. And Tom, the question today we got from Marion having to deal with her worry about possibly being cited for driving while taking medications. And it's a rather timely topic.
Yeah, and another strange thing, okay, this email came before the Tiger Woods incident, but actually I was talking to one of my buddies, and he was on jury duty this last week in the state next to us, and it was almost the exact type of same story. This individual was driving to a certain place. I'm not going to say too much,
sure,
but almost the same exact thing, and she was taking medication, prescription medication, zero alcohol, zero. They did end up finding her guilty. He was on the jury, and so I can say that just now that it's over, just in general. But yeah, so it kind of strange. I got this email. Tiger Woods thing happened, and then I talked to a friend of mine, and he was just on a jury to deal with this. And so it's like, wow, this is almost kind of really weird that this email came right before that. Our guest is Mark Peterson. He's a public affairs specialist with AAA Auto Club Group. Now that we've discussed prescription drugs, and I believe most, if not all of our listeners know the effects of alcohol, other than those two items, prescription drugs and alcohol, what other drugs or items are law enforcement finding causing impairment?
Well, I mean, there's quite a few. I just want to touch on one little point.
Yep.
A lot of times we talk about the mixing of prescriptions as conceivably causing an issue, because prescription and over-the-counter medications, not just what you buy, but over-the-counter medications, come with warnings about possible side effects such as drowsiness or risks related to driving.
Right.
But a lot of people ignore them because they've never had a problem. They just have to be self-aware that that's an issue. AAA has a website where you can type in a number, the medications you may be on, and it gives you an idea of what those effects might be.
Oh, that is a great. What is that website?
It's RoadWise RX at AAAFoundation.org. RoadWise RX at AAAFoundation.org. So that may help to get them some insight into it. And then if they have concerns, they should definitely talk to their doctor.
Yes.
And when they go in, you bring in all your meds and you say, when I take all these, what's the work? Or should I take this? And can I have that glass of wine with dinner or have that beer in the evening or whatever the case may be? We have to educate ourselves to be safe because it's an issue, and it's a growing issue across the country.
And just as we stay here, please go to your professional and seek advice. Just don't listen to Insights at Insurance. We would say go to your professional here and talk things over, whether it be your doctor or a pharmacist, or again, a great resource sounds like to go to this website and check on things like right there. So, and Marion, if you cannot do that, come and talk to me, and we'll get to my contact information here later, so I can help her with that. So,
you bet.
Obviously, I'm guessing marijuana is one of them.
Obviously, it's growing. It's in Minnesota. It is obviously legal for medical issues. It is not legal in Minnesota for recreational issues. It is in a number of places around the country, such as Washington and Oregon, in Colorado. You'll find it legal for recreational issues. And a lot of people, when I talk to kids, a lot of kids seem to think that, if I just smoke this joint and I just get high, I can't get arrested for being under the influence. Absolutely false. Absolutely false.
Right.
People don't understand that marijuana is impairing, and it's a drug. That's why many people use it illegally and also legally. It is an impairing substance. Otherwise, if it wasn't an impairing substance, I don't think it would be anywhere near as popular, obviously, as it tends to be. And it is moving around the country. AAA stance is that we support medical marijuana because it conceivably may have some additional issues. But when it comes to recreational and legalizing it, no, we're not ready. There is so much work to be done, so much research that needs to be done. When you have alcohol, and there's a legal limit with alcohol, we call it the per se limit, and that's 0.08 in Minnesota. So if you're at or over that legal limit, you are deemed legally impaired. Studies have done that. We don't have that same standard for marijuana yet.
Right.
The impairing element in marijuana is something we'll just call THC, and this impairs, and we have to come up with ideally a number or a procedure that we can utilize to address this, and we have to educate people. We have to get ready on the backside because I firmly believe that marijuana is also a gateway drug to a lot of other drugs, both legal and illegal, that are impairing and controlling people's lives.
Yeah, it's too bad that is the case, but it is. And okay, so now regarding that marijuana, and I know that there's many other things, heroin, cocaine. I mean, you could go on and go on and go on. Regarding the insurance and the cost, do you have any idea what is the overall average cost of a driving impaired situation?
If you are caught for driving under the influence, and I use that term with alcohol and drugs, and it's relatively common to have both. We call them polydrug users.
Okay.
You're talking into the tens of thousands of dollars.
Right.
When we start talking, because obviously, and you can probably talk to us, you can talk about how much additional insurance someone's going to pay if they have a driving under the influence or a careless with an implied consent on their driving history, which is a form that you read once you get impaired. But to get your driver's license back, lawyers' fees, legal fees, reinstatement fees, in addition to insurance, it gets to be very, very expensive, and because alcohol stays on your record for life.
Right.
So, and insurance companies care about for a number of times because it means you may be an at-risk driver.
Right.
And unfortunately, you're going to pay for that.
And we talk about the cost to the person that gets the DUI, but the other consequences are you couldn't put a cost on if you caused an injury or a death because of your mistake that you made. And you're right because of that mistake that they made. And what we have to remember is good people can make mistakes. Absolutely.
But just because you're a good person doesn't mean that possibly you won't make a bad choice on a given night and drive impaired.
Yep.
Plan ahead. Think about what you're going to do. It's not worth the cost because whatever happens, if you do it to someone else, you got to live with that. And good people have trouble living with that.
That, I would say, is probably the biggest cost right there. And so in closing, I just say thank you to Mark Peterson, again, public affairs specialist with AAA Auto Club. And Marion, if you would want me to help you find that website to go to on the AAA website, just give me a call at 507-377-2000, or if anybody else would want any help. Or also, you can email me at insights@americanainsurance.com, which you can also email me topics or questions for this show. So, Mark, I want to say thank you. You were a great guest. Very good information. So, awesome show, Mark.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. It's always good to educate and share.
We'll be back next week with another episode of Insights into Insurance with Americana Insurance's Tom Sorensen.
You've been listening to Insights into Insurance from Americana Insurance Group. All information provided is intended to be educational in nature. Before acting upon any information obtained during the Insights into Insurance radio show broadcast, consult an appropriately licensed professional.